Welcome again to This Week in the NFL. I'm Kendall Capps.
And I'm Andrew Williamson.
Well, Andrew, we're here. It's title game weekend. Once again, we only have one good game over the weekend.
And once again, most of my predictions horribly wrong.
Yeah,
so I think if we've learned anything for the NFL playoffs, it's probably don't watch me for advice.
That would probably be the way to go, especially if you're a betting man. See where he's going? Go the other way. Myself, on the other hand, I'm 6-2. The only two games I've lost were the two close ones.
Well, why don't we start this week? Let's go back to the one game I did get right. And let's look at the Colts versus the Ravens. A quick game to start us off.
Well, the Colts, I mean, they controlled the clock on offense. They were able to get long drives, eat up a lot of time. In Baltimore, if they can't run the ball, they have a lot of time moving the ball downfield.
Yeah, well, I felt like the Colts came out very methodically and did exactly what they wanted to do. You saw the first quarter, Baltimore could have taken advantage, taken the lead, put themselves in the driver's seat. You missed that one miscue. The Colts came back in the second quarter, ate up 10 minutes of clock, scored, get the ball back, score in 2 minutes, all of a sudden, game's done.
Game's done. I mean, they had one shot there with the pick returned, but once he fumbled that amazing play by Garcon, talk about not giving up on a play. And that pretty much turned it, that ended it right there. Any momentum that they were going to have, they lost it right there. And Indy made sure they controlled the clock, took time off the clock, went into the fourth, were able to milk it and walk away with the victory.
Well, and you see Indy, and they're a team that they do those little things right. They make the run back down the field to force the fumble on an interception. The little plays that seem like it could go either way, but the Colts find a way to make those happen to them.
They do.
Which takes us to the next game, and a team that doesn't do the little things well.
If you think about the San Diego Chargers of this decade or the last 6-7 years, they've had so much talent on offense, multiple chances where teams thought this might be their year. If you think back to that game against New England that I mentioned last week in the show, they were 14-2, came off a bye, looking like they were the team to beat. They had a bunch of penalties. Turnovers, costly turnovers late in that fourth quarter that eventually cost them a game, as well as missed field goals. You can't miss field goals. Nick Kading has proven over and over that he just can't make the big kicks in the playoffs.
Well, that whole team to me looked like a team that wasn't ready to win in the playoffs. Whether it's missed field goals, penalties, down to Vincent Jackson kicking the challenge flag, which may be the dumbest penalty I've ever seen.
At least they kicked something.
That was true. I think it was a little more accurate than some of the other kicks of the night. But overall, it looked like the closer the Chargers got to winning the game that they should have won, I think agreeably would have won had they not shot themselves in the foot repeatedly.
Yeah, the Chargers literally cost themselves a chance of winning that ball game. You let a good team hang around, you're going to pay for it, and that's what they did. Over in the NFC, going throughout most of the year, we thought that both Minnesota and New Orleans were the class of the NFC.
So it's probably
toward the end of the stretch, we thought, hey, Dallas is playing well. Arizona went there last year. They're going and playing pretty well. You can't count those teams out. Lo and behold, after division weekend last week, we know it truly was just these two.
It was. And both of these teams won in a game, as we talked about last week, against teams that were mirror images of themselves. Power on power. And these teams show that what they do better than anyone else in the NFL right now.
And it sets up an amazing matchup in the NFC Championship game. You have the high-flying Saints at home where it's almost impossible to hear. Then you have Minnesota. Their offense the last few games, even going back into the end of the regular season, is clicking on all cylinders. Sidney Rice is turning out to be a true number one. They're going to be really difficult to stop. And if you think about it, what was the one thing that you had mentioned earlier about New Orleans' defense, their weakness, they have trouble stopping the run. If Adrian Peterson gets going in this game, they're going to have a hard time getting the ball back for that explosive offense.
That is true. On the other hand, though, with this offense back and healthier now than they were the last half of the regular season, that game last week against Arizona, they spotted them 7 points on the first play and still rolled through. And I thought both of those games, the New Orleans game and the Minnesota game last week, showed what happens if you're coming in on the road. You need to come in and establish a lead right away.
Yes.
Because you let that favored home team hang around for a quarter, and that momentum slips away.
And like I said, I had a feeling that would happen. They might fall behind early, but once they get that train rolling, it's really difficult to stop. Question is, and for me, what the difference in this game will be the defensive line. Not only Jared Allen, but on the other end, Ray, I can't remember his name, he had 5 tackles for loss last week, 3 sacks. If they're able to get pressure from Allen, they have to double him. Ray Edwards, that's it. He will give pressure from the other side, and if you don't give Breeze time to throw, they're going to have trouble moving the chains. That's how they lost that game in Dallas, if you remember correctly.
Well, and here you've got kind of teams that are almost opposites in ways. Both have good defenses and good offenses, so it's hard to say they're opposites. But when you look at the Saints, you're a pass-first team with a strong running game, whereas the Vikings were a run-first team with a strong passing game.
But there I disagree. They were initially in the season, but as the season progressed, it became more of a passing offense.
I'd have to say it looks more like the Favre show now.
It really does.
And
he is having an amazing year. He had an amazing game last week, lit up Dallas. And if they can get that offense going, if they're able to run the ball and pass the ball, keep the ball away, maybe give New Orleans, say, 8 possessions this game. If their defensive line can apply pressure, hold them down to maybe 4 scoring drives, 3 touchdowns and a field goal, I could see Minnesota winning this game. And in fact, I have Minnesota and Indy at the beginning. I'm going to stick with Minnesota.
Well, I admire that you still have a horse in the race in the NFC. As my Cardinals, my Super Bowl pick, long gone now. But this game to me looks like a toss-up. I've been sitting here all week wondering which way to go. I'm going to stick with the home team. I'm going to pick the Saints. My worry is if they only get 8 possessions, they may put up 8 touchdowns. This offense looks so good. And this blitzing style defense is very different to Minnesota's, where they get the pressure from the front 4. I would not be surprised to see either team walk away with this game. And ultimately, it's going to be one on the field, whoever executes better. Because neither of these teams have a lot of.
There's no doubt this defense of New Orleans, they do fly around the ball. They create a lot of turnovers. But if they do decide to blitz and they can't get the pressure from the down 4, if you have single coverage on the outside with Sidney Rice, we saw what happens. All Favre has to do is just throw it up there. Sidney Rice, the 6'5", 6'4" guy, just goes up and gets it, and that's all you're going to need. But it'll be a great game either way.
I think one of the best championship matchups we've had in a while.
We possibly could.
Which takes us to the other side of the table, the Colts-Jets.
Yeah.
One of the more lopsided matchups in a championship game we've had in a while. Not just because of the records and the way these teams came into the playoffs, but the Jets wouldn't be here if the Colts hadn't yanked their starters against them ahead in Week 16. So now here the Colts come with a chance to either A, show everyone
they could have won that and possibly go undefeated,
or you'll have to taste your own medicine and lose to the team
let this team
in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And face the monster that they've created.
Yes. Yeah, this defense is playing amazing right now. The blitz packages that Rex Ryan is bringing, don't forget, he's the son of Buddy Ryan. Great defensive genius. And he brings it from so many different places. But to me, everything that San Diego did wrong last week, which there were countless things that cost them that game, Indianapolis does not do those things, especially at home. They don't do those. I see them being able to move the ball. I believe that they're actually going to run the ball a little bit better than people expect, because they're going to open it to pass it to open up the run and eventually eat time off the clock. And with that rookie quarterback on the road in this game, I just don't see any way the Jets can win this.
Well, and you know, I said that about last week's game, so I'm tentative to say that about this game, but I don't see these Colts making the mental mistakes of the chart. We haven't seen the Colts make those mistakes
in a long time.
For 6-7 years now, especially the last 2. They show up every game. They consistently play. Now, if you're the Jets, your best hope is to get a situation like you did against San Diego, where you go into halftime even, down 3, and they're still able to stay in that running game format.
Yes.
However, I don't think the Colts look as susceptible to the run as the Chargers look. The Chargers could not stop the run.
Even though Indianapolis struggled early on stopping the run, as the season progressed, you got better, you're getting healthier. And Antoine Bethea, that injury at the last week, he just got the wind knocked out of him. He's going to be just fine. So, with the way that defense is played, they've been flying under the radar. Nobody's really talking about that defense out of the 4 remaining, but they're pretty stout.
They shut down the Ravens' offense last week. Now, the Ravens may not be the most high-powered offense that we see in these playoffs, but for a team that ran for 250 yards the week before, they come in and run 80 the next week.
That's right.
The Colts' defense is up for this test against the Jets because it looks a lot similar to last week. So I'm with you. I'm taking the Colts. The Jets, you never know. There may be magic in the air.
There may be magic in there. I just don't see it.
Only Super Bowl the Jets have ever won.
33 years ago.
In Miami.
And they beat.
Only Super Bowl the Colts have ever won here in Indianapolis. In Miami.
It was in Miami.
So,
and this year's Super Bowl was in Miami. 33 years ago, the Jets, Joe Namath, the guarantee, the 16-7 victory. 33 years later, they go down 33-10. What do you think? What's your score?
That sounds good to me. I would, you know, I don't have a specific score. I'll stick with, I'd say probably 30-10, somewhere around there. I'd say the Colts come out. I think it looks very similar to the Ravens game. Methodical. The Colts get ready, and Lord help us. This Super Bowl may be one of the best Super Bowls we've seen going in. With Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, or Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. How can you not be excited for the next couple weeks of football? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for this week in the NFL. For all things sports, you can log on to americansportsdaily.blogspot.com. For Andrew Williamson, I'm Kendall Caps. We'll see you here next week.
Enjoy your weekend.